Welcome back from a long break to the 4 Point Play podcast. Except today we only got 3 of the 4.
3 points.
It's a 3-point play today.
And,
yeah. And today we're going to go over some playoff updates, and then later in the show we'll go over some draft consequences. So, what series you guys want to start with? There's so many good ones to choose from.
Get the East out of the way first.
Let's get the East out of the way. It's been pretty solemn. Let's go with the more miserable series, Celtics Cavs. Actually, that might not be more miserable. We'll go with the more miserable Knicks Pacers.
At least that one's going 7 games, though.
I don't know.
Maybe.
All right, so thus far, I think Jalen Brunson had 40 in game 2 and had a good performance in game 1. Hurt his hamstring a little bit in game 3. Hasn't really been the same since. Halliburton has been picking it up, because he started pretty slow at the beginning of the playoffs. Siakam's cooled off a little bit, but the Knicks are just a zombie team at this point. They have Anunoby just went out. We obviously know Randall's out. I think Bogdanovich is out. They are just cooked. Who do you guys think's going to come out of that awful series?
Well, I think it's going to have to be the Pacers at this point, simply because of injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to say I would disagree with the sort of idea people have about Thibodeau burning all his players out. I feel like these are just injury-prone guys.
I agree with that, too.
Like, it's Mitchell Robinson and it's OG Anunoby. They've dealt with injuries their whole career, so...
Yeah, but if you're injury-prone and then you're playing 40 minutes a game...
Well, they kind of have to, because the alternative is to lose, I guess, by 40 points.
I know. Yeah.
It's
a tough situation. I understand what you mean with the playing time. I don't think Tibbs is a great coach. I know he gets a lot of recognition, but if a guy like Joe Mazzulla played his starters for 40 minutes, like, they'd be good too, but they'd all hurt.
I was just gonna say, like, you gotta feel bad for the Knicks.
Wait,
what happened?
They're all gonna get
Wow. Gary's animated about
All right, anyway, I think Tom Thibodeau is not a great coach. I think if a lot of teams had their 5 best players play for around 40 minutes, they'd have some injuries too. I think especially Josh Hart even said post-game that he was out of gas. He's played several entire games this series, and it's just not really feasible to have a player do that and then expect him to be performing at his best.
No, he was playing entire games, like, at the end of the regular season. They were trying to lock
You're right.
one. He was
Yeah.
playing all those games, all those minutes for such a long time.
Yeah.
What I can say is I do feel bad for the Knicks, because...
I do too.
I mean, the vibes there are just, like, they're immaculate right now. I mean, it's going crazy in the Garden. Like, you got Knicks fans traveling all over the country trying to get to the Pacers games, trying to get to those Sixers games. You gotta feel bad for them because their team was just so good. I felt everything was clicking well. You had Brunson, you had, Hart, Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson came back. Hart and Stats playing great, and they're probably going to lose him this summer in free agency because they're probably not going to have the money to keep him. And all these other guys too, like, they were just, McBride was playing well, giving you good minutes, and then Randall obviously got hurt. So you're missing a lot of key guys, and it does kind of suck because I think they could have maybe challenged the Celtics even, in a series.
Yeah, I agree.
The rivalry there, the New York-Boston thing, I'm not saying they would have beaten the Celtics, but, maybe it could have gone 6 or 7.
Could you could have. If it's a 7-game series, there's a chance you beat them. And yeah, I really feel. There's a lot of guys I feel bad for in the East. It's a graveyard right now. We got Giannis and Dame both getting hurt. We got Embiid having several ailments. That's per usual.
Yeah.
And then the Knicks had the perfect path to an injured Embiid. Now they're playing Pacers, who are a pretty fraudulent team. He's picked it up, like we said, but still not. He's not really a superstar.
If you're telling me that Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam are leading a team in the conference finals, I'm just like...
I know.
I didn't say to that.
It's pretty grim.
Brutal.
Yeah, I agree.
Healthy conference.
I know. It's one of the most injury-riddled conferences we've seen. That I can't think of one. This is really bad. But yeah, I actually think the Pacers are going to pull it out in 6. Um,
I think
especially
they're gonna win another game. I think they're gonna win
Really?
the Garden just because it's the Garden. I don't know. I feel like the fans are just gonna be going crazy there, and I think they're gonna
Maybe.
pull it out. Just
I mean,
barely, but
Jalen Brunson was his hamstrings killing him or his calf or whatever it is, and Pacers were up by like 43 at one point during Game 4.
Mm.
That is so hard to come back from. That's just diabolical beating.
Brunson's gonna have to give you 40 to win again. 40 points.
Yeah, again.
and assists. Like you're gonna have to get something out of him. So
And I mean, even though he's been putting up these numbers, it hasn't been super efficient. So like that's why all these games, especially against the Sixers, how many of those were nail biters? Almost every single one. I think the entire series was like a 1-point differential.
they got gifted that game too.
Yes.
As well, where
But Philly also got gifted Game 4.
yeah, it did
So.
kind of balance out.
Yeah, it was a fair series. They came out on top, fair and square. But I think that's enough talk for that series. Whichever one of these teams is going to the conference finals is going to play probably Boston and probably get smoked. So now we can talk about the other miserable series out east, Celtics Cavaliers. So Celtics win Game 2 pretty demonstratively. And did I say Game 2?
Well, they
mean,
did
game
win
one.
game 2, but
No, the Celtics.
they lost game.
Celtics won Game 1 pretty demonstratively. Lost Game 2 by 24, which is just unacceptable to this definitely inferior team. Come out in Game 3, play pretty solid, and we just watched the end of Celtics Cavs Game 4, and as Celtics fan, I was not very happy watching that. Pitiful performance by Brown, pitiful by Missoula. Derek White he lost his touch to the Monstars. Tatum's been playing a bit better. He's honestly been carrying them the last 2 games. But yeah, I think the Celtics are probably going to take this in 5, especially without Mitchell. Assuming Mitchell doesn't play Game 5.
Mm.
But yeah, this series is pretty bad too.
I mean, they should definitely be winning this in 5 games, 6 games. I mean, if this goes 6 games, I'd be shocked at this point. This was the game they would have had to win.
Yes.
It was back in Cleveland. And then on top of it, it was close pretty much the whole game. And then Celtics kind of pulled it out there towards the end. But they're really going to have to start picking it up and making sure that they start closing these games out better.
Yeah.
And then honestly, they're just playing better from start to finish. Because like right now, I mean, if we play the injury-riddled Knicks or the Pacers in the conference finals, I mean, there's no way we're beating Minnesota or Denver. I mean, maybe we can get by Dallas. You never know if Luka's still not really.
We would
feeling
beat Dallas.
I mean, you gotta start playing better. I mean, this is a joke. Come on, like I mean, wake up. Like you gotta be just annihilating these teams, like grabbing the games by the neck and just
I know.
like pulling it off. Because like, especially Minnesota and Denver, whichever team comes out of that, because that's a crazy series right now.
Yes.
I mean, at that point, you're looking at we're potentially not gonna have the best player in the court with both of those teams, and at the same time, it's like the rest of their teams are constructed so well. They play well as a unit. They're well coached. They're drilled. I mean, we're gonna have a tough time
You're
with whoever we get potentially.
Go
I
ahead.
think you can make the case. I have 2 things. One, I think you can make the case the Celtics shouldn't lose another game until they get to the finals.
I thought they were going to sweep the Cavs.
Right. So you could very well make that argument that they shouldn't even lose another game.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what did them in, the only negative is, what did them in against the Warriors and come back to bite them this year. Because they still don't really run a well-oiled offense.
Yeah.
It doesn't look clean when it's a close game. It's like, who's going to bail us out? Who's going to save us? There was a Peyton Pritchard ISO. Obviously, there were some Tatum ISOs, Brown ISOs, and
Yeah.
it's predictable, and they don't always make those shots. And against Cleveland, without Donovan Mitchell, you can win by 7 with seemingly no
And Jared Allen.
with no fluid off Jared Allen.
Either.
Yeah.
Against, if you play Denver, I don't think that's gonna work.
Tonight was
Or Minnesota even.
Tonight was a devastating game as a Celtics fan, watching that and actually biting your nails when the Cavs are missing their first and probably 3rd or 4th best player.
I would debate we had 4 out of the best 5 players on the floor, 3 out of the best 4 in the league.
Maybe. I mean, Derek White was not awesome tonight either.
But just ability-wise.
But the one thing that, I mean, it's not an excuse because we had games without him, but we don't have Porzingis right now. You could argue he's our 2nd best offensive player and probably our 2nd best defensive player after Holiday. or maybe White. I don't know. All the Celtics starters are solid on D, but Porzingis is so important. Obviously, Luke Cornett's also a 7-footer, but he just doesn't have. He can't stretch the floor, and he doesn't have a lot of coordination. And Al Horford, I mean, the ISOs he's getting put on, he's getting put on skates by everybody, and he's only 6'10" or 6'9". He's not a huge center, so like the rebounding without Porzingis isn't great. Even though Porzingis isn't usually an awesome rebounder, but just having a 7'3" guy on the floor is so huge. I think with him we probably would have swept the Cavs, but nonetheless, we should come out of this series. One thing we should discuss though is what's going on with until the last 2 games. What's been going on with Tatum? Started out the first 6 games shooting around 40% from the field and less than 30% from 3, averaging 20 points. His rebounding was all right. He was over 10, which is, well, it's really good for him. But it wasn't making up for the fact that he wasn't really a superstar level player.
Yeah, for me, I think the problem is just that there's so many hands to see in the Celtics.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's like Kevin Durant, when he was in his prime, it's kind of like I almost view Jason Tatum as like a lesser version of Kevin Durant in his prime almost.
It's a fair comp.
But like, it's just kind of like Kevin Durant was a lot better. He had a tighter handle. I mean, he was bigger. He was just better off the dribble. And even though Kevin Durant was always an off-ball player, when he got the ball, it was just like he was so efficient with it every single time. And it's like it felt like everybody was genuinely like afraid of KD whenever he had the ball. But now it's just like I look at these close games and it's like what we were mentioning before with the Celtics and how they just like it's ISO ball towards the end of the games and stuff. I just see so many times I see Jason Tatum taking the worst shot in basketball because not only is he shooting a fadeaway shot, he's shooting a long 2 fadeaway in the post.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens almost every single time at the end of games, and it's just like he doesn't have like that ability that KD had in his prime where it's like that's his shot and he can just shoot over the top of anybody.
Yeah.
Like people can get a contest on him and still like alter the shot. And at the same time, it's just an awful shot to begin with. And you're shooting a long 2 in the post to close out a game. That's a pretty awful shot. Like you want to be getting to the rim or you want to be getting a good 3. So
yeah,
it's just it's a big problem. I don't know if it's games that Joe Mazzulla is drawing up. I mean, I don't think he's a good coach, but I don't know if it's what he's doing or if it's just Tatum is on the it factor, or just the rest of these guys just like also are getting involved and want to be doing stuff. We mentioned the Pritchard ISO too. I mean, like that's what's happening at the end of the game. That's pretty scary if you're trying to win a championship.
You're right. Before you go, Hutch, let me just address the KD thing quickly, and then I'll address the original question after you. I think the difference between Tatum and KD at the end of games is just the amount of time it takes Tatum to shoot. Tatum's wind up, so to speak, to shoot. He like moves fluidly all the way from his feet. Like KD, like his release was so quick and it was above everybody. Mm-hmm. Tatum, it's just like he doesn't have the ability to just like shoot quickly. Like he's an awesome scorer, but he doesn't get to like that position where he can just like surprise you with a shot. Like you see it coming. It's just because he's 6'10" and fading away that he gets it off.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big difference is just Jason Tatum's shot mechanic at the end of games. He's not really like kind of player you want taking like a surprise shot at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like a Damian Lillard who just grabs it and chucks it, or a Steph, or any of these guys.
Well, he's not quite a pure shooter either.
You're right.
In that sense, yeah. I mean, I would pretty much agree with everything that you guys just said. I mean, when I think of his scoring, I think he's really good at most things, and he's an okay ball handler. He's good, but he's not necessarily elite at anything, especially in sort of a one-on-one ISO moment. Like, he can't get the basket like LeBron used to, and he can't shoot like KD did. He can't shoot from 3 like Steph or Dame could. So to me, it's like, I don't know what his go-to move is, or go-to sort of idea is when he's going to score. And he's like in situations, and I feel like it's hard for him, because he's like, I guess I'll just post up and take a fadeaway, because that's something he can get off. And when you take the fadeaway, you will get the shot in the air.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I still think he's quite that level scorer. Yeah. You can consistently think, yeah, he can take over the game. Like, sometimes he can, for sure.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think Tatum's kind of he's got like a bit of versatility, because now he's put on a bit of mass. So he's like KD never really had like the physical game Tatum has now. But at the same time, like you said, I mean, I wouldn't say Tatum's not elite, but he's not like, I mean, it depends on how elite you mean elite is. Because like he's not a Steph shooter and he's not a LeBron driver.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, you're comparing him to like these like all-time greats.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Like he's not all-time great level at really anything. He's kind of just good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
I personally think that his struggles resulted a lot from just Missoula's coaching. I think it's been absolutely abhorrent throughout this whole playoff run. The way that he is coaching this team. Taking Tatum out 4 minutes into the game to put Kornet in. I mean, what are we thinking? What's Kornet? I mean, I know Porzingis is out. What's Kornet, though? Our 10th best player, maybe? 9th or 10th. And Tatum coming out after 4 minutes. Usually Brown's the guy who gets, like, the first couple shots because he's, like, our tone setter. If Tatum doesn't get to shoot at the beginning of the game, then when he comes in halfway through the second quarter, what do you expect him to do? He's going to be cold. What needs to happen is exactly what happened in Game 3 and 4, which I've been preaching for Joe Mazzulla to do, is let Tatum play the entire first quarter. Every other superstar in the NBA is playing 40-ish minutes a night. And Tatum is like, it feels like he's not, because he doesn't play for pretty much the whole first quarter and then the end of the third. Tatum scored 14 in Game 3 in the first quarter. 16 in Game 4 in the first quarter. That's absurd. That's an incredible quarter. Both on pace for 60-point games. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but like those level scoring outputs in the first quarter are what the Celtics need. And I know Jaylen Brown does it sometimes, but we don't need, like, you want your best player to be hot. I mean, it's great to have your second best player be hot too, but it's got to be Tatum. And there's also some stretches throughout these games where I watch and Tatum doesn't get past the ball for 5 minutes because sometimes, like, he's not like obviously, like you said, he's not the ball handler of the team. He can, but he's not the guy. He's probably not even in the top 3. So when you have Pritchard or Holiday or White dribbling up the court, and then once they pass it to Brown, obviously Tatum's not getting it back. When he doesn't shoot for 5 minutes and then he wants to get himself going and he takes one of these ill-advised step-back threes, it's just not going to work. So that's a lot of making excuses for Tatum. Now to put some blame on Tatum. He needs to realize that he's 6'10", 230 with enormous shoulders and drive. Like every minute of the game, drive. I don't care if you get fouled. I don't care if you miss your layup. I don't care if you kick. That's how offense works in the NBA. The offense in the NBA is not wait until there's 4 seconds left on the shot clock, dribbling back and forth through your legs and do a step back on their best defender. So, overall, I think Mazzulla is putting the Celtics in pretty bad positions to win. But it doesn't take away the blame from, I mean, Tatum, you're shooting 40% from the field. That's pretty terrible. Why don't you take some shots that aren't fadeaways from 26 feet that are actually high percentage shots? You can take. How easy is it for Tatum to get to the elbow? And why do you have to fade away every time you shoot? You're 6'10", just jump straight up. You know? I don't know. But obviously Tatum's my favorite player, and he's been really disappointing in this playoff run until these past 2 games. His playmaking and rebounding's been all right, but if the Celtics are trying to win a championship, he needs to really take it up to that next level, because you have all these guys who shouldn't be as good as you, like Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson, scoring 40, and Kyrie Irving dropping 30 bombs, 40 bombs. Like, that should not be. And Tyrese Maxey, 50-point game in the first round, and he's, like, most people wouldn't even put him in their top 15. You can't allow all these guys to surpass you in the playoffs, let alone Derek White.
Well, to me, that's the one thing to separate him from sort of the rest. Most superstars really are consistent at scoring. I mean, Steph would occasionally have like a bad scoring night where he'd score 12 or whatever, But generally speaking, if you're a top, say, 7 player, you pretty much score what you're going to score every night. It's generally pretty standard. So, like, for him to have these bad splits and low percentages and low points per game, it's like, he's better than that, you know?
Well, the problem, too, is, like, when you look at his season stats, or, like, at the end of the playoff, I mean, when they went to the finals, it didn't look great, but, like, when you look at his stats, you're like, oh, that's not that bad. But the problem is he'll have a great game and then an absolute stinker. And that's what the ones you can't have, because you lose a game 2 at home to the Timberwolves in the finals, you are not in good shape. The Celtics don't really have the same maturity level the Nuggets do to come back from those kind of scenarios.
Yeah. One last thing I got to say before we move on is that, I mean, when it comes to Jason Tatum and, like, the new generation of American players, at least, I think overall it's been pretty disappointing. And, like, he clearly was the guy that was supposed to be, like, the next, like, great American player. And now you have Anthony Edwards just coming out of nowhere, and he's kind of just taking that mantle from him almost. And everybody in the national media is trying to portray him as, like, the next face of the league or the next face of American basketball. I mean, right now, I mean, I'm not too high on a lot of these American guys coming up. I mean, I think that compared to what we had before with LeBron, Steph, and KD, I don't think Tatum, Booker, and Anthony Edwards are anywhere near what we once had, which is why I'm worried for USA basketball, but that's a different topic. But, I mean, I do think that Joe Mazzulla is a big problem. I think that if this team is coached by Ime Udoka, this team probably would walk into the finals. You'd see, easy wins.
Probably already have one.
Yeah, they probably already would have swept we would have had a championship by this point, but we also probably would have swept that first round versus the Heat. And I mean, this series would have been just insane.
We'd be waiting for the Knicks and Pacers to finish up right now.
Yeah, but unfortunately, and also the problem with this too is that because it was so easy, like, we're probably, I mean, not probably, we're going to go to the finals assuming, like, nothing major happens. Yeah. And then if we lose in the finals, what, are we just going to fire a coach? You know what I mean? Like, they're going to give him another year if we make the finals. That's what's
No, he'll
get
get fired.
If they lose him...
Mazzulla's going to get fired if they don't win the title.
We'll see.
He has to, because he is...
I don't think they will.
I'm completely anti-firing coaches. I hate firing coaches. Like, Darvin Ham, like, took that team to the conference finals last year. The same team stunk this. I mean, they didn't stink. They played the Nuggets in fairness. But, like, that was not fire-worthy offense, even though he might not be the best coach. Frank Vogel. I mean, Matt Ishbia, you're probably the worst owner in the NBA. You stole your entire team for Kevin Durant. You don't deserve to get fired, Frank Vogel. You did what you could. That defense was in the top 15. Who thought that Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal and Grayson Allen and Nurkic, who's an offensive center, would be a top 15 defense? You know? He did the best he could. But to me, Joe Mazzulla, like, you have, like, one of the best teams since the, like, 2018 Warriors. Like, there's no excuse unless you play the Nuggets and lose in 7 to lose. That's the only, if it goes any other way, assuming we get Porzingis back. But if it goes any other way, he has to go, because that's just terrible.
Well, the problem could be the players.
It could be the players.
Depends what happens. You know, if Jason Tatum has an awful series or Jaylen Brown's awful, that changes it too.
You're right.
And you go, oh, we need to make a trade.
You're right, but I don't know. To me, like, there's so much talent on this team. If Joe Mazzulla could just figure out the lineups, he would put them in places to win. If he realized that taking Tatum out 3 minutes into the game doesn't lead to winning, then they should win a championship. Not playing Cornette once Porzingis comes back. Why is Xavier Tillman not playing? Every second he's played in the playoffs, he's been a plus player. You know. Anyway, well, that series is also going to be miserable for the rest of it, hopefully the last game, and the Celtics should waltz to the NBA Finals. So let's go out west to another game. We saw the Denver Nuggets. Was it last night or the 2 nights ago?
I think it was last night. Last
night, the Denver Nuggets came back, tied the series 2-2. Huge performance from Aaron Gordon, going 11 for 12 from the field. As Rudy Gobert said, he turned into prime Kobe. Jokic put up a 30-piece. He's showing why he's the best player in the world, why he's the 3-time MVP. Jamal Murray has come back to life after he should not have played in Game 3 because that should have been an automatic suspension, no ifs, ands, or buts. And Anthony Edwards, the last 2 games Game 3 he wasn't awesome. Game 4 he carried them. And after that awful sequence of events right before the half, there was no coming back. They pretty much maintained that 8-point lead that they were given for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that was an insane game to watch. I remember when Murray hit that shot, and he did it right in front of the announcer desk too, so he was just getting up in Kevin Harlan's face. No, I think when it comes to this series, this was the toughest series that I had to predict because I was the only one in the entire bracket pool who picked this series to happen. I had Nuggets versus Wolves. I picked Nuggets in 7, but I'll be honest, after the Wolves won those first 2 games, I thought this was done for, especially with Murray having kind of an injured calf. I just don't know how this is going to finish out. It's a 3-game series heading back to Denver, but at the same time, the home team hasn't won a game yet, so it's I don't know what's going to happen here. I think that, once again, the Nuggets, they have the best player on the floor, but I think the Wolves just have, Anthony Edwards, he's just playing so well. It's insane to watch him kind of take that huge leap from where he was before. They just have so many bodies to throw. Gobert is awful again. He is just he's selling the playoffs once more for his teams with the spacing he can't provide and the fact that Jokic just seemingly every single time that they play is just bullying him. There's a point on defense. There's a play I was watching where Jokic pulled the chair on Gobert.
Yeah, that was awful.
He was exposed for having no bag. He just took 4 steps. It was awful. Yeah. Gobert just took 4 steps and walked out of bounds with the ball.
No bag yet.
No bag yet. Yeah. It's awful. He's honestly, they might be better off without him.
I agree with you. What happened to that game 2? Every single guy was getting sandwiched, double teamed. Naz Reid and Kat were bullying Jokic. Naz Reid and Anthony Edwards were bullying Murray. It was Jaden McDaniels and Alexander Walker were surrounding KCP. What happened to the sandwich technique? You just threw it away once Gobert came back? No more sandwiches on the baguettes? It's insane. Yeah. So,
that's exactly right.
That's exactly right. The cringe Hutch just felt is the cringe we all felt watching. Now I can't talk. But, Gobert came back from congratulations to having his first child with his girlfriend, and he just has not showed up. He was really good in Game 1, too.
He was.
And it seems like the defense has just collapsed. Kat needs...
He's trash.
He's so hard to watch.
He was horrible in the last game.
Talk about Kat. Talk about Kat for us. Talk about your favorite player for us.
Oh, he just wasn't very good in the last game. He can be.
What do you have? 10?
Something like 10. Maybe he had 13.
He started out 1 for 11, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know how he finished. I didn't really care.
It might have been the worst game of his career. Probably was.
Well, stakes-wise, for sure.
Yeah, considering the stakes. And then Rudy Gobert, like Darrell said, continues to do what Rudy Gobert does, unfortunately.
Playoff Gobert.
Get played off. Which is play off the floor. Get played off the floor by the other team due to spacing and things like that. And that's why initially everyone kind of looked sideways at that trade, saying really 5 firsts and 7-footer who can't really move.
And all season long, everyone was like, oh, maybe it was. It's still maybe a little overpriced, but maybe it's a good trade.
Well, after the first 2 games, it looks like a good trade.
Yeah, after the first 2 games, everyone thought Anthony Edwards was like Dwayne Wade and
MJ reincarnated.
Yeah,
everybody was saying, not me.
He's closer play style than D Wade, I think, Jordan, but
he has a left.
So, yeah. Well, Anthony Edwards can shoot. Dwayne certainly can't. So, yeah. That was a good one though. But yeah, Cat is selling, and to me, biggest thing that's going on in this series is just the maturity levels from the two teams. You know, the Timberwolves have every capability to beat this team. They could have swept them.
They're built to beat this team.
Yes, they were built by Tim Connolly, who was former GM of the Nuggets, to beat the Nuggets because he knew the Nuggets were gonna be great because he was the guy who found Jokic. But you know, you watch Game 3 and Game 4, and these guys are just getting like Jamal Murray looked like the immature one in Game 2, where he's crying at the refs, throwing stuff at them, throwing stuff at the player. So throwing stuff at the players. And I have a speech impediment now, but
I was going to say one more thing,
Yeah.
too. Obviously, the Nuggets, I mean, as we know how things typically work in, like, the NBA playoffs, you have a decent team around you, unless you're the 2018 Cavaliers going up against the Warriors. Normally speaking, if you have the best player on the floor, you're going to win. That's normally what happens. It's been the rules. With the best player in the league, you're going to make a run. That's how it was with Jordan. That's how it was with LeBron.
wait, what?
Most of the years.
2018? LeBron was the best player.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But, no.
He-
What? Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
in 2018 he was,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. But unfortunately, he was playing with, George Hill and
He had Dellavedova. He had all the help he needed.
yeah. But going back to what I was saying before, I mean, everybody in the media was slandering Jokic because he had just gotten the MVP
I know, bad
and
timing.
then bad game. Everybody's talking, oh, the Nuggets are gonna get swept. Is he gonna get another MVP that's not even worth it? And then he comes out and just balls out in these past two games and showed everybody why he's the best player in the world. I mean, he went against Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, and was barbecue chicken for him all night. He was going to work on all of them, just
Yeah.
putting up points. There was a couple times where I saw him get an and one on Cat where he just got bumped and chucked it up and it bounced 4 times off the rim.
That's what you got to live with,
crazy.
though. Like, if you're the Timberwolves, you got to live with that. But the problem is Gobert can't close out on anybody. So
he
like,
bullies him too. He just backs him down and just does these little he separates.
Gobert's a
him,
better off-ball defender.
Oh yeah.
Like rim protector. He can't guard Jokic. Nobody can guard Jokic
It's
one-on-one
ratchet,
in
yeah,
fairness.
Jokic.
But yeah, if no one's coming to help, it's over. And
So who did you guys pick for the series?
originally I thought the Nuggets were gonna win. I mean, I picked the Suns to beat the Wolves. In fairness, I didn't see this coming. I probably would have picked the Nuggets in 5 or 6.
Now what do you
I mean, I don't know. How highly did we think of the Suns after watching a couple of those games? I didn't think very high, even though I picked them to win because they swept the Nuggets and
Oh, you're talking
Wolves.
about the Suns, not the Wolves, though. You're talking.
Well, I'm saying I didn't think too highly of the Wolves because of how
Okay.
low I thought of the Suns
Right,
after they got
right.
swept. They looked horrible. So I thought, maybe they just came out with some mojo, but now they have to go play the champs and the best player in the world. Like
Who do you have winning the series?
now, Nuggets, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's cakewalk Nuggets.
I initially
I might say
predicted-
Nuggets in 6.
I had initially predicted backdoor sweep after the first couple of games. I'm gonna stick with that because
I know.
why not?
That's
I thought. I mean, when the Nuggets won Game 3, I said they were going to win. I think Game 5 is going to be down to the wire, and obviously the Nuggets are the team that goes down to the wire and wins. And then Game 6, Anthony Edwards is going to lose his cool because he's too young. That's what I was saying before about the immaturity. I mean, that swing at the end of the first half of Game 4, where 8-point swing, you have a turnover, 3-pointer, another turnover,
fast break dunk for Porter.
fast break dunk, yep,
And one, and Jamal hits that one.
and then Jamal hits the half-court shot, and they were down by 7 going into the half with momentum, and now you're down 15, and they got within maybe 7 or 6 at some points in the third, but it's hard. You can't come back on the Nuggets, really.
Okay, so you picked the Nuggets to beat the Nuggets. I was the only one. So when we made the bracket pool, I was the only one that picked the Wolves, and I had this series
Against the Suns.
against the Suns. Yeah, I picked the Wolves against the Suns. So I was the only one who picked the Wolves, man. I had it in a close one.
Yeah.
I had this series in 7 for the Nuggets, and I'll be honest, after the Nuggets lost the first 2 games, I thought it was over. I thought it was wrapped.
I thought it was over. I thought they were gonna lose. I just didn't think it was gonna be. I didn't think they were gonna get swept.
Yeah, but the big thing for me was that I was going back and forth before I actually had picked when I was making my bracket because, I mean, last year was a 5-game series and I was a gentleman sweep, but like, no Jaden McDaniels, no someone else was hurt, maybe Naz Reid it was, something, but
And Cat had just come back from
Cat,
injury.
yeah, Cat had just come back. This time around, it's just like I look at it, and this team is built perfectly. Anthony Edwards has gotten better. I mean, everyone else is playing well. Naz Reid was the suspended the year. Gobert is the decoy.
Yeah.
They're built to stop the Nuggets. So I was going back and forth. Like, do I pick the champs? Do I pick the best player in the world? Or do I pick the Wolves? I actually had the Wolves originally, and then I switched it back to being the Nuggets. I'll take the champs in 7. I'm not going to do 6. I think that I do back the Wolves to get another game. And it might even be game 5. I think that very well could be the case if the Wolves win 5.
They've come back from 2 down. They definitely come back from 1 down. How many games do you think, Hutch? 6 or 7?
I really think the Wolves are a one-man show at this point. I mean, I have no faith in anyone outside of Anthony Edwards.
And even though, like Anthony Edwards, like, to win, I feel like Ant's got to have 35 and Cat has to have, like, 25 or close to it.
Which you should be able to get.
Yeah.
6'11", you're a number 1 overall pick, and you're a big body.
And he's the best 3-point shooting big man of all time.
You should be able to get that, quite frankly. So
Yeah,
McDaniels has been awful on offense. It's just
you're right.
horrible.
You're right.
He doesn't get talked about enough for this. He's a great
Him and Alexander Walker have
It's
both
been-
been really bad on offense.
It's been awful.
And you can just see both of them, to me, have been really bad with their immaturity. Like, they just...
They chirp. They've been
They
chirping.
chirp.
Yeah.
And, like, Jamal Murray obviously lost his cool in game 2, but he's like... Jamal Murray... Well, of course he's better than... Of course he's probably the 3rd best player in the series. But the problem with Jamal Murray is he is, like, one of those guys that you don't want to talk trash
That's
to.
what I'm
Like,
saying.
he's, like, the closer guy. He's the guy who hits that, like... Oh, my God. Like, in the first quarter just ended, and he hit a fall-away 3.
Don't
Like-
post there.
He wasn't
Yeah.
that good in this last game, but he still hit the dagger kind of shot.
It was him against the Lakers. He was horrible against the Lakers, and he hit 2 buzzer beaters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just the guy who you don't want to bother. And, like, the Nuggets, to me, just, like, they should... At this point, it's a best-of-3 series, and the Nuggets have the momentum. So, they should take it.
I still think it's a coin flip.
Maybe. Well, if Anthony Edwards, I feel like his perfect like number is like in like 35. I feel like once he gets into like the 40s, it's like
People are watching.
He's kind of doing too much.
Yeah, people are just watching him play, and they're not.
Because it's not like threes either. It's
He's
like-
not a great passer either. I mean, he's not awful, but it's not.
I mean,
like
he's 20. He's 22 years old. Like, yeah, we can't expect. I mean, we can if we're gonna compare him to Jordan, but like for a guy like him, like he shouldn't have to do everything. Like, you got to have Cat. You got to have the 4-time decoy actually play defense. And then, I mean, Naz Reid, like, he's done his part. Even though McDaniels
He
and
gave you a win. I heard him
Yes.
16 points in a quarter and gave you a win.
yes, and I mean McDaniels and Alexander Walker also helped out a ton in game 2. But those aren't the guys who really need to be like showing up. It's like the problem is Cat and Rudy really need to step up if you're going to be the number 2 and number 3 on this team.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's enough on that series. I mean, maybe we could cover Edwards for a second. Just like where do you guys think he's ascended to? Do you think I felt like after the first 2 games he might have been not overrated, but just like maybe a little too early. And after those 2 losses, I feel like even though he's played really well, like it's toned down a little bit. Like, where do you guys think he's elevated in the league?
I think
And keep in mind, he's also just like, I mean, he's going to be the face of the league. Regardless of how good he gets,
I hate that.
It's
I
not true.
hate it.
No one's ever gonna watch him play.
I like watching him. I mean, he's.
Wembanyama, and I'm not even a Wemby guy, but I prefer it to be Wembanyama.
I mean, it might be. And I mean,
Like
it's
one-
rookie. It's his rookie year. Like, we weren't saying this about Ant his rookie year. We weren't saying about Ant until this year, and it's year 4 for him.
He also
But-
wasn't as touted as Brunch.
No, I mean, he was the number 1 pick, but
He was. there was no consensus one.
But it's the personality too is kind of why he like everyone just like he's becoming the new LeBron who gets posted every 5 seconds on social media. He's in all these different commercials. He's sponsored by Jordan. He's sponsored by Gatorade. He's got all these like deals that those guys want to have. At this point, he's one of the best American players, if not the. I mean, like that's the thing. Like, how high is he elevated? Like
he might be.
He might be.
To that point.
I mean, like even though Tatum has like has a way better resume, obviously than Edwards. Tatum's got all the first team All NBAs, all the Eastern Conference Finals appearances, Finals appearance. He's got just like stats wise probably better, but I'm sure I wouldn't say it, but I'm sure a lot of people would put Edwards over Tatum right now. I'd say if you had to pick a guy to go forward, it would be Edwards. Because I feel like at this point, if you're going to pick one guy to go forwards with your franchise, like if you could choose one person, it's either him or Wemby. No, you're right. I would
all day.
I'd pick Wemby all day too, but number 2 is probably Edwards because he's 22. I mean, there's no other guys who are less than 25 who are like that level of player. Like the next youngest guys are like Shea's 26, Luka's 25. There's no one else, and Luka's like I'd take Ant over Luka any day of the week. He plays better defense. He's a dog. I would take Luka over.
But what I'll say is in terms of like where it would rank Ant in the league. Honestly, I know this is gonna sound like a really hot take, but I honestly think Anthony Davis is the best American player at this point. I think overall, I think he is. I would say after the first 5 that I have, I'd put Anthony Davis, and then I would go either Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum. In my opinion.
I mean, I guess that's a fair take on Anthony Davis. To me, his impact just doesn't lead to winning. Like, whenever he plays any of the other good centers in the NBA, he loses. Like, he can't beat Sabonis. He can't beat Jokic. He can't beat, like, I mean, who's another guy? Like, do they beat the Sixers? I don't know the record against the Sixers, but I'm sure he gets outplayed by Embiid every time they play.
Yeah, I just don't think their team is very good besides him and LeBron.
Anthony Davis has had 1.5 good playoff runs, since he left the Pelicans. I'd probably still take Tatum over him. But I could see, talent-wise, I could see I mean, Anthony Davis has all the tools to be the best player in the world, and he's just not. But, I mean, I just think Tatum's just done more with, I mean, he's not as tall, he's not as big, but it's definitely, that's a good debate for sure. But I agree. I don't think Anthony Edwards I think it's a little quick. I mean, the guy's won 1 playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Tatum, how many has Tatum won? Probably like 25 series.
I mean, Edwards has done is very impressive, but this would be like taking Donovan Mitchell after he beat the Thunder, and then ranking him right after that.
Yeah, being he's the best American player.
Look at how good he's going to be. And he's been very good, obviously. But, he's maybe what you thought he would be after that first year.
Yeah.
Edwards has obviously elevated a lot of people's minds, but
yeah,
really put him up there with some of those guys. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
For me, he's got to be better than KD.
He might. Yeah. I think Anthony Edwards has cracked the top 10.
He's in the top. I'd put him top 10.
I'd probably he's probably in the top 8. I mean, like the only guys who I would like for sure put above him are Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, Luka, Tatum, maybe LeBron.
There's debatable.
Shea.
Like those are debatable ones.
And I'd take Ant over Shea at this point. Just because of the defense.
But Shea's good.
He's good, but he plays one side of the ball. I know he has like the steals, but like he's not actually a good defender. Like at best, he's the 5th best defender on that team. So, but yeah, I mean,
it transition into the next series.
Sure is. Talking about Shea. Are the Thunder cooked? What do you think?
What do you think, Coach?
They're down 2-1 now. I think they're playing right now. I'll check the score. They're playing Game 4 live right now. Thunder Mavericks. So this game, yikes. It's halftime, and the Mavs are up 11. The Thunder are cooked. What do we got for a box score on this?
We all predicted this.
It's just Josh Giddey. That's the problem with them. I mean, his plus-minus has been absolutely atrocious from what I've heard. I mean, I'm pretty sure he played 11, or didn't he play like 7 minutes and his plus-minus is like minus 22?
Yeah, they leave him open.
They just leave him wide open and he can't shoot. Like, you can't have that. He's going to get dealt. They're going to pay him and they're going to do a sign and trade with him this summer because you just can't do that. And his value, quite frankly, he's lost probably $20 million this playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that if he had gotten hurt before the playoffs, he would have gotten paid more. Like, this is as bad as it gets for him. He got benched to start the second half, I think, in the last game. I mean, he has been absolutely dreadful. And the thing about the Thunder is, too, like, this is the time, like, you're the 1 seed, you have home court, you're a fully healthy team. The Mavericks have Luka Doncic on one leg. Luka's got a sprained knee, a sprained ankle. Like, I mean, he's playing horribly. I mean, he's hurt, clearly. He's out there laboring. And you can't even beat that. Like, it's like, and Shea's giving you what he's going to give you, too. Shea's giving you his 30. He's giving you
30 and no more.
Yeah,
This
it's efficient though. Like, he's doing it on decent numbers.
I don't know how. I mean, I don't have Shea's efficiency up, but tonight the Thunder are shooting 35% from the field and 9% from three, 1 for 11. So
Their threes have been very off against most.
yeah, I mean they don't have any real like pure shooters. That's something they definitely need to work on in the offseason. They have obviously their superstar. You're not getting rid of Shea. Jalen Williams is gonna be. No, he's not. Jalen Williams is an all-right three-point shooter. He's like he was, I think at one point he was close to 40-90, but he'll be like an all-star, maybe all-NBA level when he gets older. Maybe he's definitely he could go either way, but he has a lot of promise.
In a weird way, I almost think he's overrated now, but
He might be a little overrated. He might be one of those guys who's like gets talked about so much as being underrated that he gets overrated.
Yeah. I just keep saying he's a good.
Like Jalen Brunson.
He's the kind of guy. He's just the kind of guy for me where if you're the Thunder, you max it out, and if you attach 3 picks to him, 4 picks, superstar you can get. You know.
I would not trade him. He's too young.
We bring KD back to the Thunder and signing Russell.
No.
Are we redoing it? Harden? No.
Oh gosh. No, if you're the Thunder in the offseason, and we're saying this assuming they're going to lose to the Mavericks.
They will.
They're going to lose. They don't have. Luka's got more playoff experience. This is Shea's first time being a number one.
Mavs have the best player on the floor.
And Shea, I mean, they swept their first series, which was really impressive for them. Great win. They haven't won a playoff series in a while.
Once you get the Pelicans out.
Without their best player. I know. But it was a sweep. Sweep's always cool. If they let it get to like 6, then it'd be like, ugh. But, they nice little playoff run, ran into a better team.
Next year,
we'll see.
This is a young
of
team.
course
They're going to get a lot better, and honestly, I don't think there's any.
Chet's first. I mean, even though he got drafted 2 years ago, he's a rookie. He needs to definitely eat something this summer. Maybe no more granola and bird feed, but and no more singing. But yeah, they have a lot of promise. We can talk about the Mavericks a little bit.
I was just gonna say the Mavericks were the team that needed it more. Like,
you're right.
Went all
100%.
They traded all their picks that they had left for PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. If this didn't work,
I mean, the all-in was Kyrie.
Yeah, well, honestly, not really.
That was a way riskier trade because if he's been playing great. If he didn't pan out, they were cooked.
Yeah, but they still could have. He had a couple years left in his deal when they immediately extended him. Like, he had a couple years left. What I'm saying is, like, it's the other guys. It's because they don't have any picks anymore. Like, they had picks when they traded for Washington and Gafford. They still had some picks.
Yeah.
They don't have anything anymore, and they used it on those 2 guys. So if those 2 guys didn't pan out for the Mavericks, yeah, it would have been horrible.
Well, as we speak, PJ Washington is winning them.
There you go. Yeah, he had 2 back-to-back. He had back-to-back 27-point games.
Like he would be the reason they won. It won't even be Luka to me. It would be him.
Luka's hurt.
I've been hearing around that everyone's calling him playoff jewel PJ. Like they stand playoff jewel.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm sorry I had to explain it. Yeah, I mean this game is really ugly. 54-43 at half. That is gross.
Awful though. I mean, you can come back from that easily in the modern day.
I'm just saying total. I'm saying Thunder are really about to score 80 points.
Isaiah Joe's about to get hot.
Like Lou Dort.
Isaiah Joe's got a hot 0 points. What'd you say?
I was
Luka?
just gonna say Lou Dort's such a good player. He just can't shoot that well. Like, I like him a lot. Like when I watch him play, like he guards Luka really well. It's just if he could add just a little bit better shooting to his game, he'd be so much more valuable.
I mean, if he had it shooting, he'd be Drew Holiday, but he's not. So,
Yeah.
Like, the Thunder, my problem with the Thunder is what were you doing at this trade deadline? I know you, like, your team's young, but, contracts end quickly. Rookie 3-year contracts don't last long. I mean, Jalen Williams next year is going to be getting a max.
Mm.
You only got really this summer before Jalen Williams is on a max contract.
I don't think it's a bad contract.
He's not a max player.
I think he is.
I think he is.
I like him a lot. He's just got a lot of. I don't know. He's just a solid guy. He's efficient and he's a good defender. And he's young.
He would be the best player on maybe 4 NBA teams.
Yeah, but how many guys with max contracts would be the best?
Well,
you think Tyrese Maxey would be the best player?
I think some of you guys have max deals. That's another whole thing.
What?
That's a different conversation. But yeah, I think some of you guys have max contracts.
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The money is just getting thrown around in the NBA, but that's also at the fault of the GM.
Yes.
You know what? Like, if you don't think he's worth the max contract, let him walk. But they don't want to let guys walk.
No.
But, I mean, they should have made a move at this deadline.
Gordon Hayward was not enough. He doesn't get
No.
play.
And yeah, that was just contract. That was just to get the Hornets off of his money. Like, there was no benefit to getting Gordon Hayward. I think he scored 2 points this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's done.
Yeah. Loved him.
Got paid twice. Gotta respect
Yeah.
it. He
Yeah.
$200-something million.
I loved him for 6 minutes on the Celtics. But, yeah, I think they actually missed an opportunity. Imagine you traded like Giddey and some like maybe I know Cason Wallace, everyone loves him, but you could have traded Giddey for the money and Cason Wallace and gotten a solid guy.
Well, he hasn't gotten paid yet. That's the thing. He's
I thought he's on his
rookie year.
Oh,
He's gonna get
still
paid.
on it?
He's up for an extension this summer.
Oh.
That's what I was saying. He lost a ton of money.
Well, then you're gonna have to. Do they still have Bertans for money?
No, they traded him.
Oh, he was in the Gordon. Well, then shouldn't have traded that then.
They're in trouble. They have to make a big move.
They do.
They just don't
They're
have-
at crossroads right now where it's like you can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
You have like Shea's your guy, but like, can you add someone else? And like we were saying, we think that they could get Giannis potentially, but that's not going to be for at least another year.
They could get Kevin Durant, but Matt Ishbia wouldn't want to take Kevin Durant because he likes big names.
Obviously, the Thunder have a ton of picks, which is their saving grace, but they don't have like guys who you want to trade for. I feel like preseason, even like no one thought they'd be the 1 seed, but a lot of people were high on them. But after this, no one's gonna want to trade for a lot of these guys. So it's
I don't know. I disagree with that. They're a young team.
but like
They won a series.
Well,
and
everyone
they're
wants
gonna
like a Lou Dort.
yeah, but like who? You said nobody wants to.
No, everyone wants a player like him, but not for a big
Yeah,
price
maybe
tag.
him, but like how
get-
much
Yeah,
does
his
he make?
contract is good. It's probably making like 13, 14 a year, I think.
But
pretty
that's
solid
but
for
what are
Lou
you
Dort.
what are you bringing back for
What's
13
about the
million?
pick?
Yeah, so you attack picks for it. Those are the assets.
I
you
know.
want.
Like
You
it's gonna
want-
be what's it gonna be? Lou Dort and Gordon Hayward and Bismack Biyombo and
Well, you got to keep in mind.
8 first.
Once
Like-
you make the pick, it becomes less valuable too.
Oh,
They're on the clock. They're on the
100%.
clock with that because there's a couple drafts I think where they have like 3.
I think they have 3 this.
No, they didn't get the Utah pick because Utah tanked and
Oh.
got their pick. They got the 10. If they finished 10 or below, 10 or 10 between 10 to 1 Utah.
So they have 2 this year.
Yeah, I think so. They have the Rockets pick and then they have.
It's so funny, by the way, we're breaking
Or
down
one of
the Mavs and the Thunder plan. We're just talking about
We're just talking about the Thunder's off season. I mean, I hated last year. I hated the finals. I thought Nuggets Heat was so boring. This year, obviously as a Celtics fan, I'm gonna be happy if they're in the finals. But this conference finals is so boring. This conference finals, Luka versus Jokic might be fun.
I would like that, but then again, the Nuggets are just gonna win that because Luka's hurt. The Wolves would beat them too.
I think Luka's actually not that. I think he was kind of hurt, and then he kind of came back, and then he faked an injury. Where he had a free foul.
I don't think he looks great, but what I do think is that I think whoever wins the Nuggets will, either one of them,
Probably going to finals, yeah.
Whoever is, that's going to finals.
Probably. Yeah, we don't need to talk about the Thunder offseason anymore.
How do they fix this?
Yeah. What are we going to do about these darn Thunder?
The 1 seed.
Mavericks 2 conference finals losses. Are they going to have to start looking around?
More access to shit. That's the problem.
What's the Celtics plan for July?
Get Paul George and maybe we can win.
Yeah, do you guys think if we get KD, we can win?
Oh, man.
All right. Yeah, that's miserable. All right, let's talk quickly about the draft consequences. We can just go. We don't have to talk about all the players. Let me just pull up the draft order. Raul is tired.
Where are the Thunder drafting?
12.
Yeah, that's good.
And they
So-
got a later pick too.
Hawks number 1, obviously. Is that? What is that? What do you guys think? Does that sway them from trading? Both.
Well, we're trading
Both their
one.
guys.
We're trading one of them for sure. That's happening, without a doubt.
But I think beforehand, consensus was Trae Young's going somewhere. The Lakers, the Spurs, somewhere. But now, if you're going to get Alexander Sarr, who's a 7-footer, do you keep him? Yeah.
I do.
That's kind of like the guy who you want with Trae.
I think you got to give it a shot. I mean, I know that this draft class is supposed to be bad, but I honestly see a lot of upside with that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 7'1". He's very athletic.
Yeah.
I don't think his jump shot's awful either. Like, I think he's really good at defense. Like, he can switch a lot. He's going to average a lot of blocks probably. He's not going to be anywhere near as good as Wemby, obviously. But, like, I think he's going to be a really good NBA player person. I think that he's the safest pick. I think there might be a player in the draft that's going to be better than him. Because, once again, technically speaking, there's about 5 guys who could go number 1 overall in this class. So I think there could be someone else that gets later in the draft that's better. But I think he's, like, the safe. You know what you're going to get. He's going to be athletic. He's going to give you blocks. He's going to play great D. And I think that he would be a good fit in Atlanta, considering the fact that the Pelicans contract's going to be this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a tough one because you kind of toe the line between do you want to be do you want to be the 7 seed and be a first round exit, or do you want to just let this guy do what Wemby did this year, and just have kind of the reins, get the rookie of the year, get just good NBA experience as a number 1 guy, and kind of move on from there with the return you would get for like Trae or DeJounte. And at that point, if you're looking for assets, it's Trae who you would trade. Because DeJounte really isn't valuable at all. It's probably a negative trade what they did with the Spurs. But you could get a lot. I think you could probably get a fair amount for Trae. You might be able to get 2 or 3 firsts. I think you could actually, considering Gobert got 5, you could definitely get 3 firsts. There's going to be some silly GM who wants to do it. I mean, obviously, like,
The Thunder GM.
I mean, I was about to say, like, obviously the Thunder, like, that's not where he's going. They don't need Trae Young. But
You need a lot.
who could go to the Thunder? Yeah, but I mean, that's just insane. I think the Hawks had like an 3 or it was either 3%. I think it was a 3% chance.
Yeah.
That's absurd. Yeah, so we can talk more about the Hawks offseason during the summer.
Yeah.
But
One last point. Spurs are going to get Wemby and Topic together.
yeah, I mean the Spurs have 4 and 8. That's awesome for them. Pistons, per usual, poverty. They got relegated to the 5th pick. They're gonna get, I don't even know. They're probably gonna pick like Stephon Castle and just have another guard who can't shoot, because that's just what they like. They like trading for centers who were picked high and didn't work out, and drafting guards that can't shoot. That is the Pistons.
That is the formula to win.
That's the form. That's how you're gonna get it.
I think Klingon might be a pick for them. I think that would be like a
Let's have another big man bust. Because Klingon is not gonna last in the NBA unless he fixes his 3-point
If he's
shot.
taller than our other bigs, maybe he'll be better.
I saw Zach Edey was hitting some threes at the combine. I don't know.
Bronny James 1 overall.
They might be better off picking Bronny.
They might. Yeah.
Let's try and get LeBron, please, LeBron. Come to Michigan. Come to Detroit, so Hutch can be a Pistons fan.
I always like their jerseys, but I still don't know if I could do it. That's brutal. I will say, I think the lottery should be changed slightly.
Yeah, let's. I know you mentioned that earlier. What do you think about the lottery, Hutch?
Well, to me, if we go through it real quick, remembering like the worst team in the league this year was the Pistons, frankly, and they got the fifth. Last year, who got the first pick? Last year's Wemby, and the Spurs were essentially the worst team in the NBA.
They didn't have the worst record. They were.
Yeah, they were awful. But like, I guess the point is that teams that are really bad, they just don't always seem to end up with that first pick.
You're right.
So in those situations like this year, I mean, obviously this year we don't have a Wembanyama type prospect, hopefully dominate the league. But still, you'd like to see these teams have a chance to actually be relevant. Not that the Pistons are make or break for the NBA as a whole. Like when the Knicks were battle this year, they didn't ever get a first overall.
Don't forget about Celtics. Goat. Tingy Pingy.
Was he the first overall pick?
No, I think he was 4.
Yeah, he was 4th. But that's still.
You're saying just first overall?
Well, yeah, like they were horrible, and they really didn't ever get like great picks.
So when the year there was that good class, well, was supposed to be a good class with Zion and Ja being 1 and 2, they ended up with 30, even though they had the worst record in the league.
See, that's a good example of it. So instead of getting Zion, who when he's healthy can be an exciting.
That draft class was just unfortunate. Like what a drop off from.
He might have ended up with the best pick. Depending on what happens, you never.
I mean, in fairness, R.J. Barrett turned into OG Anunoby, and they're probably not going to make the conference finals now, but there's a chance they make it this year still, depending on if Halliburton chokes another game. Another poverty franchise, Hornets get 6. That's awful. I mean, that's killer, especially after Jordan left. Maybe you thought maybe they might actually get some good. They might get maybe.
That's the best thing that happened to them in 20 years.
Yeah, and the best thing that happens to the Lakers is when Jordan is LeBron's coach in about 6 weeks. That's gonna be fun. Or JJ Redick, his pod mate.
His podcast, buddy.
Oh.
We should have JJ Redick on.
Rockets get the 3rd pick. That's actually pretty solid for them.
They're gonna trade it. So
They should. They should. What other fun ones are there? Grizzlies got. 9 is so.
They didn't have to reward
Well, that's cool if they actually are healthy.
Next year?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be as good. They traded Steven Adams for.
They're trying to trade that pick too, though. So.
Who'd they trade Steven Adams for? Because he's on the Rockets now.
Depot, right?
Yes.
He's gonna cut him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Steven Adams was awesome. I know he was out for the year, but he's better than Jaren Jackson Jr. to me. I'd take Steven Adams any day of the week. I'd take Jaren Jackson. That's a hot take.
That is.
But Jaren Jackson, potential-wise, 100%. Performance-wise, Steven Adams not fouling out of every single game, and is not the most overrated defender in the NBA.
That's true.
Jaren Jackson Jr. winning DPOY last year. Did everybody just forget that?
No. I didn't forget.
I'll never forget.
Yeah. Jason Tatum deserved it.
You didn't give it to Jaylen Brown. You did it. Kings 13. Those don't really matter, though.
Yeah, it's better for the lottery.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for the lottery. And got 3 quick trivia questions for you. Keep you up just a couple minutes longer.
Mike, you'll have a chance to maybe get one of these.
Yeah.
We do.
Mike gets every single trivia
We're a
question,
team.
so.
Yeah.
Alright. Which one should I do first?
See if we can solve one of them.
Actually, now that I think about it, I think I said these to you guys already. But I'm going to ask it anyway, and you guys are going to tell me the list that you already know. Who are the players with over 3,000 playoff points before turning 27 years old?
Jason Tatum?
He's on the list.
LeBron, obviously.
LeBron's on the list.
Jordan.
No. Ooh, I stumped you.
Magic Johnson.
Nuh-uh.
So they're all 4-year college players.
Not KG. He didn't play enough playoff games. It's not KG, right?
No.
Is Jalen Brown one of them?
No. It's only 3 guys. So LeBron, Tatum, and one other guy.
Before 27, you said?
3,000 playoff points before turning 27. So obviously it's a guy who's...
Wilt.
No. It's a guy who's played a lot in the playoffs. Keep in mind, Wilt was playing, what, 8? They only had 8 teams. No. Good guess. Actually, no, it's not. Because he was a 3-year college player.
Jack.
No. Close.
Tracy McGrady.
Kobe?
Kobe. Because he was from high school, and obviously Shaq dragged him through every round of the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll put it that way.
Kobe slander to end the episode.
Kobe was good later on. Kobe was good later on in his
This
career.
episode.
Yeah. Anyway. Who are the 5 players with the highest career points per game in the playoffs after a loss?
LeBron.
LeBron is not on the list. Steph is not on the list.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan is number 2 on the list, 33.2 points.
Sorry.
Curry's not on the list.
Oh my God. Tatum.
Tatum's not on the list.
But thank God.
It's Luka, right?
Luka's number 1.
Luka's a
Yeah.
second.
35 a game following a loss. Most.
What about Kawhi Leonard?
Nope.
Let's just say Shea just because he's a...
Actually, I think I might have said no to one of the ones you said. Maybe.
He said Steph.
Nope, not
Steph, LeBron, KD.
KD.
Yeah.
Did you say KD? He's number 5, 29.7.
You know what?
2 more guys. One guy.
Westbrook.
No, older guys. 2 older guys.
Jerry West.
Jerry West is on there, 30 points a
That was a
game.
good one.
That was big.
That was nice.
One more guy.
Well,
No. He's one of, in our opinion, one of the more overrated players in NBA history. No.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Kareem.
Mean.
you
No,
got
no,
three
no,
of
he's
them
not.
left.
No,
Like
like,
Michael Jordan.
if anybody has, like, if anybody, like, there are definitely guys with this guy in their top 10. And he's not,
Come on.
no, and he's probably not even top, he's,
Barkley?
no, he's not even top 25. He's probably Iverson.
Wow.
30.2 points a game following a loss.
He's losing a lot.
Yeah, he was losing a lot to Kobe. One more.
One for the road.
One.
One for the road. Wait, there's
Oh my
more.
One more treat for you. Who has the best plus minus over the last 5 seasons?
Jason Tatum.
By how many points? I'll give you his number. He's plus 2,434.
Let's say by 3. Let's say by 75 points.
Mm-mm.
I already said it was like 80 something.
Higher.
Higher.
2,000 higher?
Not, you're not too far off.
100 points better.
A little closer.
110.
A little
We're
lower.
getting warmer.
A little lower.
105. 107.
107.
The high fever.
Leading second place in the last 5 seasons. And that's why he's on the field.
Thanks for clarifying.
But I love him. And that's going to do it for today's segment. Make sure you check out some of our other videos.
Like and subscribe.